Chapter 6. No, this cannot be true, I whispered. I'm sorry, this must be a terrible shock for you, he said sympathetically. You complete bastard. You complete and utter crazy vampire bastard. You bit me. I yelled at my reflection since I had nothing else to yell at. Hazel, you are confused and frightened. I need you to calm down. Calm down? Was he crazy? He had bit me and coerced into a stupid marriage, and now he wanted me to act calm. What did he think was going to happen? We were just going to sit down and talk about this like mature adults. I will not calm down. What did you do to me? Hazel, please. I can feel your anger and fear. Wait, can you see these? I said, pointing at my fangs. What the hell are these? Hazel. I do not know who you think you are going around and abducting young girls, then turning them into vampires. But last night, you messed with the wrong lady, buddy, said furiously. Look, Hazel, I understand you are mad, but believe me when I say that you are the only girl I have ever taken, and you are the only girl I have ever wanted to take. Is that supposed to make me feel better? Now you just sound like a crazy stalker. I mean, what kind of man picks up women in a graveyard? Snapped. These are all questions I will be able to explain to you later, he replied. There will be no later. I never want to see you again. That is going to be difficult considering that we are married. Then I want a divorce. Vampires do not get divorced. Look, Hazel, you are just frightened, said. I was pretending to be brave, but he was right. I was scared and worried and terrified. Hearing his disembodied voice in my head was awful and comforting at the same time. I hated the feeling of having a mental breakdown, but then having his calm voice calling my name was making my skin itch. Boys had never been on my agenda at college. For many girls, college was a time of sexual awakening and self-discovery, but for me, it had always been about getting my degree. I never had time for dating or boys because I was either studying or I was working in a bar to pay off some of my student debt. To me, the opposite sex was a strange, foreign, and unexplored territory that I had never wanted to set foot in. But now I have this guy in my head, and all I can think about is his voice and those beautiful brown eyes glowing amber in the moonlight. I am glad you like my eyes, he said pleasantly. I was not thinking about you, I hissed, feeling all the blood in my body rushing into my face. I wish I was there to comfort you, but last night you were so upset I thought you should have some time to yourself to accommodate to your new situation, said. I shook my head. You are not real, I said firmly. You are nothing more than a personal manifestation of my stress. Hazel, I am in your head. I know you do not believe that. Okay, that is enough of you, I said, walking back into my bedroom and grabbing my MP3 player. I need to stop talking to my mental breakdown and go to college. Wait, Hazel, you cannot go to class without feeding. I have already eaten. I ate a big stick of stinky garlic bread, so do not even think about kissing me, I said, taking unsteady breaths. Flicking through my MP3 albums, I found my heaviest rock anthem and pressed play. Heavy metal blasted through my earbuds, blocking out all sound. If this guy was talking, I couldn't hear him now. The dryness in my throat had also disappeared, and when I checked my reflection, I saw that my fangs had disappeared, and my teeth were now lovely and normal once again. Blissfully, I sighed and carried on getting ready for college. I left my dorm room with my music still blaring. The man inside my head had been silenced by the screaming vocals of my favorite rock band. Listening to the angry decibels, I left my dorm hall and headed out into the November sunshine. It was the 1st of November, and I was wearing huge black sunglasses, trying to shield my eyes from the brilliance of the sunlight. Looking at sunlight was trying to look at a 100-watt bulb after sleeping in a dark room. My eyes ached painfully, unable to cope with dull November sunlight. Halloween on campus was usually pretty spectacular. There was a long tradition of TPing rival halls and desecrating statues of long-forgotten college professors with shaving foam and traffic cones. The college always threatened students with expulsion if they were caught vandalizing college property, but that never put anyone off. In fact, most of the frat houses considered it a challenge. I crossed the campus grounds and headed to my early morning seminar. When I got into the building, I soon found that my black sunglasses look did not seem out of place. The whole college department was filled with hungover students and even lecturers wearing dark sunglasses. I moved through the crowd towards the small seminar rooms at the back of the department. I had a feeling that not many people would bother turning up for today's seminar. Generally, after any campus festivities that involved the consumption of lots of alcohol, there was a drop in university attendance. When I got to the seminar classroom, I noticed a white piece of paper stuck up on the door from the school's administration. Dear students, your normal seminar tutor has called in sick. However, a replacement tutor has been called in to take your session today. He will be 5 minutes late because he has to get to college from out of town. Admin. See, even the lecturers skipped out on school. I opened the classroom door and walked in. The classroom was empty, which meant I had first pick of the desks. Strategically, I walked to the side of the room and picked a desk next to the heater. Sitting down, I began to unpack my books when several other students walked in. Did you see that guy in reception? One of girls gasped. Oh God, I hope he is the stand-in tutor. Another girl replied. The door swung open again, and guy I had never seen before walked in. The girls stopped chatting and their eyes widened. Who is he? He is gorgeous, I heard someone whisper. The guy was handsome. He had dark chocolate eyes and brown sandy hair that swept scruffily across his face. His dress was simply and classic, dark denim jeans and white t-shirt. To my surprise, he walked across the classroom and sat down at the desk next to me. Hey, is this post-war policy? He asked me. Yes, I replied, wondering who this guy was. Great, I'm a new transfer student. My name is Duke, he said, offering a hand. I'm Hazel, I smiled, politely taking his hand. Duke flipped my hand and suddenly brought it to his mouth and brushed his lips over my knuckles in a gentle kiss. It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance, Hazel, Duke replied, returning my hand. I took my hand and shoved it under the desk, not knowing what to do or to say. The whole classroom had turned silent, and I could feel the jealous stares of half a dozen girls tearing into me. We should have lunch together, Duke announced, loudly drumming his fingers against the desk. Yeah, sure, I said weakly. Hey, he said, suddenly rolling up his t-shirt sleeve. What do you think of my tattoo? Duke leaned towards me and showed me his incredibly toned arm covered in a sleeve of black tattoos. The other girls continued to watch, virtually drooling out the corners of their mouths. Nervously sitting in my chair, I wished I could just shrink away from it all. The tattoo is very nice. Did it hurt? I asked randomly, trying to be friendly. Duke coolly raked his fingers through his hair and said, No pain, no gain. I don't think I could ever get a tattoo. I'm scared of needles, I said. Well, if you ever wanted a tattoo, I could always come and hold your hand, Duke said softly. At that moment, the door of the classroom burst open and the whole class jumped. Next to me, I heard Duke make an irritable sigh, then mutter, He's such a baby. The substitute tutor walked in and the breath stilled in my lungs. It was him. It was the Prince of Darkness. He was here in my classroom and he was staring straight at me and Duke. Chapter 7. The Prince of Darkness was dressed in a designer suit and black tie. He strode to the front of the classroom and shrugged off his tailored jacket and began to write on the board. I watched him in surreal disbelief, unable to comprehend that he was actually really here, in front of me. He then moved out the way of the board, revealing his name, Caspar Reagan. My name is Caspar. I am standing in for your seminar tutor until he returns, which I am hoping will be soon. Today we are going to go over the reading you were assigned to do. Please raise your hands if you have not done the reading, he said. A few hands reluctantly lifted into the air. If you have raised your hand, please leave the seminar, and for future reference, please stop wasting your parents' money and do the damn reading, he said curtly. Caspar waited a few moments as the students who had not done the reading gathered their belongings and left the classroom in disgrace. The rest of us stayed glued to our seats, suddenly feeling like we were back in high school under the thumb of a tyrannical teacher. Caspar prowled up and down the classroom before suddenly stopping and pointing his finger at a student. The student sat up in his chair nervously as Caspar proceeded to grill him. Tell me which scholar had an influential part in the shaping of the policy mentioned in paragraph 5, Caspar said. The student froze, then began fumbling through the pages of his article. Caspar rolled his eyes and moved on to the next student. What post-war changes are described by the scholar on page 10? The second student flailed, and Caspar moved on to the next student. Numbly, I remained at my desk, watching the academic massacre. Caspar was killing these students with his nasty questions. It was a complete contrast to the gentle voice I had heard in my head last night and this morning. Part of me was shocked that Caspar could be so cruel. It looks like we really pissed him off, Duke muttered to me in a low whisper. Excuse me? I said. Suddenly, Caspar slammed his fist against the whiteboard. Hazel, is there something you want to share with the rest of the class? He yelled at us. Both Duke and I shook our heads, but Caspar was not satisfied. In fact, he was furious. Standing at the front of the class, he opened the reading and began firing questions at me. Okay, Miss Field, if you feel that you do not need to listen to my class because you are much cleverer than the rest of us, then you will find these questions easy to answer, he said, pulling a large textbook from his bag. Now enlighten us, Hazel, about the neoliberal policies of the late 70s, he said. Stumbling, I replied, but that is outside our set reading list. Come on, Hazel, you are a clever girl. I am sure your new boyfriend can help you, he said, glaring at Duke. Duke protectively put his arm around my shoulder and said, Sure, I can tell you all about the neoliberal economic policies of the late. Shut up, Duke, Caspar yelled, and take your hands off of Hazel. Duke's arm fell from his shoulder and he whispered, Sorry, Hazel, looks like you are on your own. I sank further into my seat, wishing I could just disappear, but Caspar had not finished with me yet. In front of the whole class, he began asking questions that I had no idea of what the answer was. Everyone watched me with a sad, sympathetic expression as Caspar tore me apart. When Caspar had finished with me, I felt tiny. Caspar turned to the class and said, Now I want you to write a brief summary of how you could have answered those questions correctly. Everyone pulled out their notebooks and began scribbling away. Numbly, I sat at my desk staring at the years of doodled graffiti. This was a nightmare, a horrible dream that I would wake up from any second. Suddenly, a wave of emotion overcame me, and I felt like I was going to cry. Hazel, Caspar's unexpectedly softly spoke from inside my head. I lifted my head and looked directly at him. My eyes were now fuzzy with tears, and I replied mentally to him, Please stop this. Caspar's expression softened when he saw the tears in my eyes, and I heard him mutter a curse under his breath. Everyone except Hazel and Duke get out now. Go and do the reading properly, and pray that your seminar tutor is better next week so you do not have me to answer to, he yelled at the other students. The other students cleared the room in 10 seconds flat, leaving me, Caspar, and Duke alone. When the last student had left, Duke shouted at Caspar, Well done, Romeo, you actually managed to make her cry. Caspar crossed the room at an unnatural speed that made me nearly jump out of my chair. He knelt down beside me and spoke softly. I am sorry, Hazel. It was never my intention to upset you. Using the sleeves of my hoodie, I dabbed my eyes, trying to catch the tears before it made my mascara run. I did not want to cry in front of him or anyone. Caspar reached out to touch me, but I quickly pulled away. Pain flashed across Caspar's eyes, and he moved away from me, muttering, Shit, I really fucked this up. Come here, Duke said softly, opening his arms to hug me. Caspar quickly turned on him. I swear to God, Duke, if you touch her again, I will rip your fucking arms out of their sockets, Caspar yelled. Duke rolled his eyes. And now you know why they call him the Prince of Darkness, he said, flashing a smile at me. Caspar is not that bad, really. His bark is worse than his bite. He just has problems with his temper. This cannot be happening. This isn't real, I murmured. Caspar studied me and said, I screwed up, but this, he said, pointing to me and himself, this is not going to go away. So you better get used to it. Caspar, remember that little talk we had in the car about being nice? Duke chided. I am being nice. She is the one who is being difficult. We are mates. Hazel, we are destined for one another. If you could accept that, then we could move on with our lives, Caspar said angrily to me. Chapter 8. I walked out of the classroom holding my head high. Caspar may have won that little battle, but overall, I had won the war, and I was not about to let some bad-tempered, bossy vampire ruin my life. Taking a deep breath, I slowly exhaled all the badness. The worst was over, and now I could move on. Bam! My whole body slammed into a solid wall of flesh. I stumbled backwards, but was quickly steadied by a pair of unfamiliar hands. Catching my balance, I looked up at the person I had ran into to apologize, but stopped. This man was suspiciously handsome. Too handsome to be human. He was shorter and leaner than Caspar, but he looked strong. In fact, the way he stood reminded me of someone from the military. His clothes were simply and practical, cargo pants and a gray t-shirt. He was watching me, but he was also watching the whole corridor. "Forgive your highness, Caspar sent me to protect you," he said in an accented voice said. Oh God, these damn vampires were everywhere. They were like rats. It didn't matter where I was, I would always be a few feet from one. Raising my hand, I said, "Listen, I want nothing to do with your kind, so do not follow me." I walked away from him, but soon heard his footsteps a few feet behind me. I turned sharply and saw him behind me. The asshole did not even have the decency to look guilty or apologize. Instead, he just waited for me to move. "Miss Field, you're forgetting something." I heard Caspar calling to me from the classroom. Biting my tongue, I swung round to see Caspar casually strolling up the corridor. Coolly, I asked him, "Does this," I said, pointing at the G.I. Joe, "belong to you?" "This is not Joe. His name is Nico, and he will be your bodyguard in college when I am not around to protect you," Caspar said. "I thought I made it clear that I want nothing to do with you," I snapped, ignoring my point. Caspar handed me a piece of paper. "I want to see you exactly at this time in this location." I screwed the piece of paper up and threw it at his stupid chest. "Go to hell," I snapped. "Hazel, you are making things between us very difficult. Now I am asking you very nicely to meet me after college. If you do not want me to do things nicely, then I can make things very difficult for you." "And how are you going to do that? By shouting at me in class, humiliating me in front of my peers, or maybe you will just bite me again?" I said, lowering my voice. "I could tell the head of department you were disruptive in my seminar. I could tell the head that you smell of alcohol. I could ensure that this department took disciplinary action against you, resulting in permanent ugly mark on your otherwise pristine academic record," he said. My heart dropped. Crap, that would be bad. That would be really bad. Anyone caught drinking alcohol underage on campus could get kicked out of college. And if I ever wanted to work in government, then a bad record could be really bad for my job prospects. I paused and reconsidered my position, which was Caspar really had me by the balls. Stooping down, I picked up the piece of paper and shoved it in my bag. "Fine, I will be there. But that does not mean I have to listen to whatever nonsense you have got to say," I snapped. Caspar smiled triumphantly. "I'm glad we are finally seeing eye to eye, my love." "Do not call me that. Never call me that. Pet names were for people who genuinely loved each other," I hissed. "I do love you, Hazel," Caspar replied softly in my mind. "And stay out of my head," I added, leaving for my next class. God, I hated him. I walked to my next lecture with Nico in tow. We did not speak. I was too mad to talk. I couldn't believe that Caspar was blackmailing on top of everything else. Furiously, I walked into my social research lecture and sat in the corner of the back row. I peeked into my bag and saw the screwed up piece of paper slip he had given me. If only I could piss him off, then I wouldn't be feeling so bad. I wanted to make him as miserable as I was. Quietly, I sat playing with a couple of strands of my hair, which is what I always did when I was annoyed. Then for some reason, I looked up and saw Leo Coulter on the row next to mine, staring at me. He was one of these athletic types, good looking, but not much going for him in the thinking department. I mouthed, "What?" at him, irritated that he was gawking at me like a huge fish. Leo smiled and mouthed hi back at me, his eyes still fixated on me. I paused. Wait, was Leo trying to flirt with me? A mischievous little demon inside of me stirred. Caspar hated other guys. He couldn't even stand Dupe touching me. I wondered what would happen if he thought I was in love with Leo. Maybe he might lose interest in me and give up and move on. Maybe Leo was my ticket to freedom. I gazed up at Leo, smiling warmly at him, encouraging him to flirt. We would break eye contact and then glance up at each other. I would smile or bite my lip, and he'd just grin at me like a moron. I wondered if Caspar was too busy. Notice what was going on in my mind. Even if he didn't notice right now, I would make sure I was thinking about Leo during our meeting later. When the lecture finished, Leo approached me as everyone was leaving. Hey, I was wondering if you wanted to get together after college sometime and do some studying or stuff, he asked. I like stuff. We could? Suddenly, I was cut off mid-sentence with Caspar striding into lecture hall. Miss Field, I need to have a word with you. Now, Caspar said, glaring at Leo as if he was going to rip his head off. Sweetly, I smiled at Leo. Maybe after school we could talk about this. I suggested, fluttering my eyelashes. Yeah, that'd be great. Leo grinned at me, swinging his rucksack over his shoulder. Caspar's jaw twitched. Unfortunately, Mr. Coulter, miss. Field has an important meeting after college today with me, he said in a very controlled tone. Well, I'm free tomorrow, Leo said to me. Caspar suddenly gripped my arm and began pulling along the row of seats. Come along, miss. Field, we need to have a talk. He didn't even let go of my arm when we left the lecture theater. I smiled to myself, feeling that I had won a small victory. Smugly, I pulled out of his grip and walked ahead of him into the empty classroom. Caspar calmly closed the door behind him and locked the door. What is wrong, my love? I asked innocently. Do you want that boy dead? Caspar said darkly. Why, Caspar? I have 2 classes with Leo. You can't stop me from talking to him. I said, perching on a desk. Caspar coolly walked up to me, his dark eyes cold and harsh. I could feel the rage inside him rising and falling. Hazel, Caspar whispered, bending down, lifting my chin up to his face. I will kill that boy because I will not share you with anyone. Please do not provoke me. I know you are mad at me, but I need you to understand that when I get mad, people get hurt, he said, stroking my hair. I looked up at him, his face inches away from mine, and asked, Are you going to hurt me? He shook his head. Never. I could never hurt you because you are my mate. Even if you did do something unforgivable with Leo, I could never hurt you, but I would kill him. I would kill anyone who threatened you. He was very close to me now, and my whole body was screaming for him. His beautiful eyes held my gaze, and then he leaned into me, brushing his lips lightly against mine. I did not move. I had no idea if I was scared or turned on. Pulling away, Caspar said softly, You have no idea how much I want you, Hazel. Chapter 9. The tension in the room was unbearable. Caspar walked to the other side of the classroom while I sat very still on desk, trying not to think whether what just happened could be called a kiss. My whole body felt like it was aching for him, and I had no idea why. Caspar was such a jerk. We barely knew each other, but being alone with him in the classroom was making me crazy. Part of me was terrified by the feelings I had for this stranger, while the other part just wanted to melt into his arms and let go. Was this a vampire mate thing? Did Caspar release a type of pheromone that made me go mushy in the head whenever he was physically near me? I shifted uncomfortably on the desk, wondering how I was going to get through this. Caspar stood at the back of the classroom watching me. He leaned against the back wall with his hands in his pockets, just staring. My skin began to itch again. It was not the kind of itch you get from an allergic reaction, like a scratchy type of itch. It was the type of itch that you couldn't scratch. It was absolutely maddening. I pushed myself off the desk, unable to sit still any longer, and walked impatiently over to the window. Staring out across the campus grounds, I watched the groundsmen and gardeners hard at work cleaning up the Halloween mess. Those frat boys made that mess, and they also made this mess inside the classroom. Why wasn't Olivia McAdam duped into marrying Caspar? Why was it me? You were destined to be my mate, Caspar said, interrupting my train of thought. An oracle told me exactly when I would meet you. She said that you were an angel sent to guide me out of my darkness. What kind of darkness? I asked. Caspar bowed his head, hiding those dark eyes of his. My life is pretty messed up, Hazel. It's difficult to explain, and I don't want to scare you, he said. I'm pretty tough, Caspar. I do not need to be protected, I replied. Good, because that might come in handy one day. Where I come from, being a vampire is ruthless. His voice suddenly trailed off, and for a split second, I swear I heard the ground beneath us groan. But I am sure we will get through this phase if you generously decide to stop tormenting me. Tormenting? How had I been tormenting him, I briefly wondered. Caspar read my mind. That boy? Caspar said gravely, unable to say Leo's name. Oh, I said. Have you forgotten about him already, my love? Caspar asked sarcastically. No, I snapped. You should. It would be much better for his health, and mine, Caspar replied. Compelled, I glanced up from the window and saw him directly looking at me, his eyes endless burning pools of dark amber that swallowed me whole. A fire burned through my body. Memories of last night became fresh and raw once again. My breath caught in my throat, and I tore my gaze away from his. For a fleeting moment, I felt his annoyance and anger, as if I had rejected him and pushed him away from me. There seemed to be a deep, underlying urgency to be together. I hated the way he was making me feel. It was torture. I need to get some air and have some lunch, I said, unable to bear the tensions any longer. I began walking towards the door when Caspar suddenly appeared in front of me, his body right in front of mine, blocking my path. Caspar, I swallowed. Please, I feel it too, Caspar said softly. The aching, the burning. I have never felt like this about anyone before. It feels like I am losing my fucking mind. Caspar moved closer to me, his body suddenly crowding mine. At that point, I stopped thinking. All I could do was feel him, feel the heat from his body and smell the scent of his skin. My skin began to throb, like it would explode if he didn't touch me. Caspar, I need why. Before I could finish my sentence, the door opened behind us and Duke walked in with a picnic cooler. Holding the picnic cooler up, he announced cheerfully, I brought lunch. Caspar stepped away from me, murmuring, Great lunch. My heart and body felt utterly bereft the moment Caspar stepped away. I watched him move towards Duke, putting more and more distance between us. Hazel, it is important for you to eat, Caspar said. Great, starving, said flatly. I watched Caspar take the cooler box from Duke and open it up. Now, Hazel, I need you to be open-minded, Caspar said, carefully choosing his words. Why? I asked. Was he into strange cuisine or something? Caspar then gently lifted a medical bag of blood out of the cooler box. Numbly, I stared at the bag, horrified. You can't make me. I won't, I stammered, staring at the dark crimson liquid that he held in front of me. Sighing, stepped towards me, waving the bag in front of me. I watched the heavy liquid swivel and flow in the bag and felt the back of my throat beginning to burn in my mouth. Hesitating, I stepped backwards into a desk. Caspar then tore open the bag and placed it under my nose suddenly for the second time ever. My fangs exploded out into my mouth. I covered my mouth, ashamed, and with supernatural speed, I fled to the back of the classroom. My eyes were burning as tears began to fall. It was silly, really, but I was crying for the loss of my humanity. I was no longer a normal girl. Nervously, I touched my new pointed teeth in a sort of morbid curiosity. I burst out into floods of tears. What have you done to me? I asked Caspar, sobbing. Caspar quickly put the blood back into the cooler and pulled out a carton of juice. I'm sorry, my love. Here, try this instead, Caspar said, throwing me the carton of apple juice. Grabbing it, I sniffed back my tears, and happily I snapped the straw off and stuck in the carton and took a gulp. Immediately, as the liquid touched my tongue, I could tell it wasn't apple juice. Sweet and refreshing, I couldn't stop myself from gulping the stuff down. I knew it was blood and knew Caspar had tricked me, but I couldn't stop myself from drinking it. As I slurped the last drop, I stared angrily at Caspar. Did your mother never use tricks to get you to eat vegetables? Caspar asked, unrepentant. Yes, but it wasn't blood. I ground out flatly, throwing the carton at him. Hazel, you're a vampire. You need blood to live now, Caspar said, bluntly, catching the carton and tossing it in the bin. I ignored him, grabbing a real carton of juice out of my bag. I hate you, I yelled, grabbing my bag and storming off out the classroom. Chapter 10. I decided to hide the ladies' restroom until my next lecture. The ladies' toilets were one of the few places on campus I could hide from Caspar and Nico. Neither of them would dare to adventure into this sacred feminine space. Anyone brave or foolish enough would have hell to pay from the female faculty and student body. No one liked a pervert on these grounds, and I swore that if Caspar or Nico did try to find me, I would scream bloody murder. Standing alone in the toilet stall with nothing but my thoughts, I wondered how becoming a vampire would change me as a person. I felt human, but I wasn't anymore. Was I going to become a merciless killer like most books and films depicted vampires to be? Had I lost my soul? Frightened, I stood motionless in a toilet cubicle, terrified over my future. How was I going to explain this to my parents? How was I ever going to visit them in Florida when I could barely stand the dull northern winter sun? You had no right to turn me into a vampire, I yelled mentally at Caspar. Caspar quickly replied in a mocking tone. Are you still hiding in restroom? I did not bother answering back. The physical longing I had for Caspar an hour ago had thankfully long passed, and now I was back to my normal, bitter, angry self. But it still troubled me why I had wanted to kiss Caspar so badly in that moment of weakness. Perhaps my vampire pheromone theory was right, or maybe it was down to a lapse of judgment in the heat of the moment. Caspar was not a bad-looking guy after all, and I could understand why any female would find Caspar attractive. He had a dark, mysterious look about him that was completely photogenic. His dark hair and dark eyes, everything about him screamed LA model or Hollywood actor. I couldn't understand why it was necessary for someone that good-looking to kidnap a wife. Furthermore, why would one of the handsomest men in the world kidnap me? I exited the toilet cubicle and stared at my reflection in the mirror, and all I saw a plain girl with scruffy hair and baggy clothes. What was so special about me? Why had I been chosen to marry Caspar? Miserably, I headed for my next lecture. When I opened the restroom door, I was not surprised to see Nico leaning against the wall opposite, waiting for me. When he saw me, he straightened up and took a few steps towards me. "Highness," he said curtly. "Listen, Nico, I do not need a babysitter," I groaned. "Do I make you uncomfortable, Highness? I could call Duke to join us if that would put your mind at ease," Nico said without the tiniest hint of offense. I lifted my hands in the air and said, "You do not make me uncomfortable, Nico. What you and Caspar do is annoy me. I did not ask for this, and I do not want it. So go back to Caspar and leave me alone. And please do not call me your Highness." I turned from Nico and started to walk away, but like before, Nico did not take a blind bit of notice and started to follow me. I was too tired and frustrated to complain, so I let Nico quietly walk behind me, leaving a gap of several feet between us. We passed the cafeteria, heading down towards the basement lecture theaters. The halls at this time were busy with students moving from one class to another. Moving with the flow of students, I began to descend down the stairs when something caught my eye. Coming up the stairs between the two flows of students was the beautiful lady I had ever seen before. Behind me, I heard Nico groan. "What is she doing here?" The lady moved with an unearthly grace. She was stunningly attractive, the type of attractiveness that was plastered over every top fashion magazine. Every male, straight or not, was staring at her. She had huge brown doe eyes and porcelain skins. Her facial features were soft and delicate, absolutely flawless. Waves of brown hair framed her face and fell all the way down to her waist. Looking around, I could see that every boy in the class was in love with her, and every girl wanted to be her. I found myself transfixed on her perfect appearance. "Who is she?" I asked Nico. "Her name is Henrietta," Nico replied. Henrietta flashed a cordial smile at me as we passed, then glided on upwards. "She is gorgeous," I whispered, feeling a little insecure. "Look at this girl for what she is. Hazel. See past the facade," Nico said softly. Glancing at Henrietta, I couldn't understand what Nico was trying to point out. "She is gorgeous, Nico," I said. "But how does she feel?" Nico asked. "What do you want me to do? Go and touch her," I said sarcastically. Nico sighed, pressing closer to me as the crowd pressed against us. "Reach out with your vampire mind and feel her. Feel her energy, feel her life force. Does feel friendly, happy, or sad." I stared at her sideways. Henrietta was at the top of the stairs now, moving away with the rest of the crowd. I studied her closely and saw her eyes were two big, black, empty voids in the middle of face which had no expression. The smile she had given me was cold, without any feeling. In a clinical sense, she was beautiful, but she felt almost numb, cold, empty, dead. "Do you understand now, Hazel?" Nico asked. "I do. Everything about her is like a doll. On the outside, she's picture perfect, but inside, she's hollow." "This sounds silly, Nico, but she doesn't feel human to me," said uneasily. "She's not human," he replied.